Hey everyone, I just wanted to give you an update on my course that I've been working on for a couple of months now. And I released it as an early bird course, allowed people to get access to it, to start taking it as I'm actually developing it as well. And when I released it, I had about 2 sections done, 2 modules done. Now I'm up to almost 8 sections. So let's go ahead and talk about my progress and talk about what's actually coming up and what I'm working on fairly soon. Actually, today after I'm recording some of these videos, I'm going to dive into some of these new sections. So you can get to the course by going to learningdojo.ninja, and then you can come over to courses, or you can just click on blog. Either way, it takes you to my courses.learningdojo.ninja site. And if you wanted to, you can come up to courses right here. This is where you can see all of the courses available that you can purchase here. And the one that I'm currently working on is the JavaScript Fundamentals and Articulate Storyline 360. This has been something that's been in the works for a while that I've been wanting to do. People have asked about it in the past saying, hey, it would be really nice to be able to learn JavaScript in the context of Storyline. And a lot of my YouTube videos over the past couple of years have been exactly that, Storyline and JavaScript. And I've had a lot of good feedback based on those videos. But it always comes back to, I want to have a full course, everything from A to Z on everything Storyline and JavaScript. So that was the initial idea of the course, to be able to create something that's comprehensive, to just understand JavaScript basics before diving into JavaScript, but then how it applies to Storyline, how I can take the concepts of this JavaScript and apply it to triggers inside of Articulate Storyline. So let's go ahead and dive in and explore what I've been building here. So right now, actually, I was wrong. I actually have 9 modules. I'm working on number 9, but 8 ready to go. And you can see right here, I'm kind of halfway through module 9 as well. So far, it's about 8 hours and 51 minutes. That's a long time. And I know it's a lot of information. A lot of the times when I'm creating something, I like to data dump and I like to just get everything out there and then go back and fine tune it and then revise it. And as I teach it more and more, it gets better. Any updates that I make to this course, if you purchase it one time, you automatically get all future updates. That means that if I decide to release a new section or I decide to revamp it from scratch, you automatically get the latest and greatest by just purchasing it one time. So that's just something to keep in mind. And you can still, at this point, get the early bird discount. If you click on buy now, you get the early bird discount, which is 30% off. So really, you're only going to be paying about $69 there, as long as I'm in development. Once I'm out of development, that cost will change. All right, so let's go ahead and explore what we've talked about so far. So the first thing is we're talking about the Articulate publish files. So we're talking about the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and how JavaScript is the behavior part of Articulate. And this, of any website really, JavaScript is behavior. When you click on something, you want something to happen. You want something to calculate. You want something to update or go grab some information. That's really what JavaScript does. So we talk about the file structure. We talk about the current JavaScript events. We talk about what the user.js is, where all of your custom JavaScript goes inside of Storyline. And so immediately I'm diving into Storyline and giving you the context of all the different files inside of Storyline, and then showing you where those JavaScript files go or the commands go. The next thing is we dive into JavaScript basics. So this is where we get a sandbox and we work inside of that sandbox to learn the basics. And so we're learning about syntax and formatting and keywords and what keywords are in regards to JavaScript. We're also learning about comments and how to comment and make sense of your code. So when you come back to it, you know exactly what you were doing. We talk about operators and strings and booleans, which are not new concepts. If you've done any type of programming inside of Storyline, any type of triggers, or any type of variables, you've worked with strings, you've worked with numbers. And that's how, throughout the entire course, I try to relate it back to Storyline. Even though we're going over some of the basics of JavaScript, I always go back into Storyline and say, hey, this is how you're working with it inside of Storyline to help it put it into context. Because if you understand that, you're able to customize it a little bit more. And I'm always open to feedback. If you're going across the lesson and you're like, hey, that doesn't make sense, or can you explain that a little bit more? This course is in the works, and I see this as a living, breathing course where I can go ahead and update a video to make more sense. That is the idea. I'm not going to have something perfect to begin with. Anyone that thinks a course initially, when you develop a course, is going to be perfect, even an e-learning course, it's not going to be perfect. Any product that you create is not going to be perfect initially. Hopefully, it gives you a lot of information and gives you some value still. But that's where I think that the beauty of it is, or the excitement of it is you go in and you tweak it and you adjust it and you add to it and you refine it. That's really where it starts to become really great. And that's what I've seen over time with my other courses. If I come back into here, my Articulate Storyline 360 has been out since version 1. Because I've been teaching it so long, I've learned different things. So every time I go make a new version of my Articulate Fundamentals course, it's a little bit better. It's a little bit improved. I wouldn't say it's perfect, but it's just a little bit better each time. All right, so I'm going to come in here. We talk about working with a console. We talk about variables and what let variables are compared to const variables. We talk about conditions, and you're already working with conditions inside of Storyline. We talk about default value types. We talk about working with numbers. We talk about working with strings. In most sections, we have this in-action section or this in-action video. In-action videos are where I like to teach the principles just as a whole, but now let's actually put it into action. Let's try something out. Let's go create an example and different examples and see what happens as we start to apply what a variable is in different situations. So that's really what that in-action video is. And you can see there are several throughout the section here. So we're working with strings and string templates and what string templates are. All of these things can be used inside of Storyline. So that's why we want to dive into it. Now, you don't always necessarily need to hand code something inside of Storyline. You don't need to go in and memorize this code. But if you understand the basics, you're then able to work with something like ChatGPT to get the right code. If you understand the components, you're going to be able to ask ChatGPT for the right output. So I've said this several times on the channel now. Understanding the right input will give you the right output. And this is where, if you at least understand the principles of what conditions are, what variables are, what other things like that, as you start to work with ChatGPT, you'll know if that's the right code. You'll know how to tweak it. You'll know how to adjust it. You'll know how to ask ChatGPT for the right thing. And I think that's the key with AI. It's not necessarily knowing everything from A to Z, but it's knowing enough to be able to ask it and direct it in the right way. All right, that's my little soapbox for today. But you can see here that we then jump into functions and what functions are. You're not going to use functions a lot with JavaScript and Storyline because functions are essentially triggers. And triggers are where you can open up a JavaScript event and you can put a bunch of commands. Functions are a group of commands, and that's really what it is. So there may be time where you do want to use where, like in the previous video, I've talked about using global functions or being able to elevate a function so you can use it in several different areas. So there's still times that you may do that, but triggers act in a lot of ways like a function. All right, so we also talk about events and when something happens is important. When you double click on something, when a page loads, these are different events that happen, which Storyline has events too. Every single trigger has a way for you to add the when section, which the when section, if used right, can give you a lot of power. When the page loads, when the page unloads, when an animation ends, those are all the different events that we talk about. And then we go into methods and what methods are and how methods relate to if you're working with any type of API or any type of additional library, you will find methods. And so we talk about what methods are. We'll talk about scope. And this is important when you're working with a trigger inside a Storyline. You may add a piece of code that you think, oh, I can then call that code or I can find out what that variable is in a different trigger. That's not how it works because that trigger kind of sits independently of other code unless you adjust it in a certain way or you place it on a master slide or something like that. That's when it comes into place. So we talk about what scope is. We then also talk about arrays and what arrays are in a collection. And this is really where you can get pretty powerful with Storyline, is being able to take a bunch of the different variables that you have inside a Storyline, put them inside of an array, randomize some variables so you can then take the learner's inputs, randomize it and say, hey, tell me more about this, or let's dive in a little bit more about that. So that's really where arrays come into play. We talk about loops and being able to loop, and you will use loops a lot, especially when you're working with like timers or countdowns or just being able to process information. You're basically working with loops there. So we dive into all of that loops. We dive more into arrays and working with arrays. We dive into sets and then JSON. Why would I use JSON? Well, XAPI is the way that you could track additional information and get very detailed reporting. And XAPI is actually formatted in a JSON way. So this will help you understand how JSON is actually formatted, therefore how XAPI is formatted, and allow you to adjust additional things about the XAPI. And we will dive into, at some point, we will dive into XAPI, or you can dive fully into my course, my XAPI and JavaScript course, and get information that way as well. All of that before we even get to storyline and adding triggers. So we dive into a lot of just JavaScript basics. We're playing with the sandboxes, we're adjusting things, we're trying things out, and so forth. And then we start to dive into storyline. This is where we start to add the triggers. We basically review what we've learned about triggers, but we review the events inside of storyline. We also talk about referencing the player or getting the variable information. When you're working with storyline, because it is your kind of independence, or you have these little pieces of code that are independent of each other, to be able to update storyline or have storyline do something differently based on your code, a lot of the times you're working with variables. So you're getting what a variable is initially, and then you're doing your own little code inside of JavaScript, and then you're pushing that variable information back to storyline. And so that is this part of the course, is understanding how to get information and then how to set information back to storyline. And then in storyline, how to do things differently based on that information that comes back. So we talk about all of that. So we dive into that. We talk about complex math. We talk about being able to reference storyline objects, basically talk to specific objects on the stage. We talk about that as well. And adjusting CSS properties, elevating functions like I talked about before. And then this section is all about working with storyline in ChatGPT. ChatGPT is an AI, is essentially something that we can't ignore right now, and it's going to save you a whole lot of time, especially when you're new to JavaScript. Now that we understand the foundations of what JavaScript is doing, we then want to apply it and use ChatGPT to create different examples. And so a lot of these examples I'm actually creating on the fly. And this is something that I kind of have a plan of what I'm going to do, but I walk through working through it inside of ChatGPT. And I show you some of the stuff that ChatGPT gives me that is not quite right. So I need to adjust a couple different things, and then I need to apply it inside of storyline. So we walk through a lot of different examples. We walk through how to set a timer, how to detect a user's device. This is the one that I just posted last night, which is actually how to work with an API, a weather API. There's other things that I'm currently working on, how to randomize things, how to create or pull out something from an array, grab a bunch of variables from storyline, create it inside of an array, and push it back. And then the one that I'm working on today and recording today is the JavaScript API. This API is huge. This is going to allow you to do more inside of storyline and customize more using this JavaScript API. I have a couple different videos that you can check out on my YouTube channel or on my blog posts that talk about everything you need to know about the API. Initially, there's a few things that you may want to dive into, and this is where we're going to dive into and go from scratch, because the YouTube video kind of lightly covers a lot of things. My courses is where I dive more into depth, and I spend more time inside of each subject, like positioning and animation and layers and stacking and other things like that you're going to be able to do with the JavaScript API. So if you want more time that's outside of my YouTube videos, this is the reason why you need the course. So we're going to dive into that, and that's going to become relevant because I feel I don't have official information, but I feel like we're getting close because it's in beta right now, but we're getting close to this being released. So the next thing is custom animation. I have a lot of videos on GSAP and green stock animations inside of Storyline. So there's a lot of information out there, but like I mentioned, That is just high level overview. And if you get that information from those videos, great. But if you want to dive in step by step and you want to be able to really animate things from point A to point B, and you want to be able to really even trigger things after an animation ends, this is where we're going to dive in. We're going to go, because we have more time to spend on it, we're going to spend more time and we're really going to get into custom animations. We will also talk about just creating other types of animations using the JavaScript API. We're going to talk about a different way of doing animations. So that's really where we're going to dive into there. That's still kind of in the works. So this is the custom just kind of overview. And then we're going to walk through a bunch of examples with GSAB. After that, we're going to debug using Storyline, the console, talk about things that may go wrong and how do I fix or how do I adjust that and everything. This last section I see as more of like people who are in the course may suggest, hey, I want to do this scenario. I want to do that scenario. I'm trying to do this. And what I will do is I'll take that as an end action suggestion where I go in and I say, okay, let's figure out how to work with Stocks API. And I'll create a video and I'll basically create a video on working with Stocks API. So it may be a little bit more of a hodgepodge kind of situation, but that's where I see more of like the inaction or let's test this out. Let's test that out. Let's try to do this and put it into Storyline and how to do that. So that's where we're going. We're almost done, basically 70% there, I would say. So we have some big sections coming up that I'm still working on. JavaScript API, GreenSock, everything you wanted to know about GreenSock, working through different examples of GreenSock. All of that information is still coming. And if you sign up for the early bird discount, you'll get 30% off. You'll get all of the updates when they get released. I've been updating maybe about 3 to 4 videos a week or something. And so you get all of those as they release. And then any future updates that I make, you will automatically get to the course as well. Not trying to nickel and dime you. Basically that one small price, $69 at the moment, will get you access and will get you all of the future courses as well. My main goal of this YouTube channel is to help you become the best learning developer that you can be, to go out of the box of these standard e-learning tools, which are great, and you need to know the basics of it, but to push the limits of it. I want you to test different things. I want you to use JavaScript. I want you to add custom animations and stuff like that. That has always been my goal with Storyline. I love teaching the basics, but I love getting somebody to the point of like after basics to really being able to customize it. I've had a couple situations at conferences recently where people have come up to me and it has meant a lot because they said, your courses have helped me get a job, or your courses have helped me in certain situations where I got stuck and stuff like, or your videos. That means a whole lot to me. And I've now been producing videos on a weekly basis or almost a weekly basis for 4 years now. And so that means a lot. And that's really, again, my goal is to help you become a better learning developer, to really push your skill set and everything. So I hope you get that out of my channel. I hope you go to my YouTube channel and you like and subscribe to my channel, as well as hit the bell notification so you get notified of all future videos as they come out. That helps my channel, allows me to reach more people as well, and really build this community, because in addition to actually getting access to this course, I have opened up this discussion board as well. So this is where I can see people as they continue to try Storyline and JavaScript to add discussions here and get feedback from the community as well. So when you subscribe to the course, you automatically get access to that as well. All right, if you want to check out more, you can always check out my blog posts while you're here as well. I post a weekly blog post on various tips and tricks. You can go ahead and search for it up on the top if you're looking for something specific, or you can select a topic here as well. That's all I have for today. So thanks everyone, and I'll see you next time.